Hi, I'm Zoe Morano. Welcome back to Magic Theory 101. This is our first episode since I got back from New Zealand, and today's topic is a very deep one that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. How souls can jump vessels. If you've just started listening to the podcast, welcome. It's going to be a message that not everyone will resonate with, depending on where you are in your spiritual journey, but just hear me out. Souls can jump vessels. To explain what this phenomenon means, first off, we have to define a soul. Most people say the soul is the part of you that lives on after your body dies and can reincarnate into new lifetimes. I define a soul as a portion, or more accurately, a perspective of consciousness. So the soul usually comes to earth into a vessel with some sort of purpose, like learning a lesson, creating something, making some sort of change. Now, the vessel I'm referring to here is the physical body with all of the memories it has collected throughout its experience and the beliefs it has woven into its DNA, because your DNA is a code of your belief system, translated into a physical form. You can change your DNA by changing your beliefs. In fact, we do that all the time. But more on that a different episode. So, um, sometimes a vessel will already be pre-programmed for a soul to enter. What I mean by that is that the vessel will already have all of the memories and beliefs and capabilities that the soul wants to have when it comes to Earth. Most of us believe that souls come into the body either while the vessel is a fetus or when the vessel is born. And that's true for a lot of us. But what I've noticed is that many souls will also come to Earth when we feel the vessel is in a position to be the most expansive experience for us. So for me, and we're getting real deep real quick, I did not come into this body until my vessel was 11 years old. This was when my family was moving into a place that was definitely more spiritually safe for me to express myself and accomplish the things I wanted to accomplish. And this sounds weird, but all of the memories that I have before the age of 11, when I look back at them, they feel like video game programming. I don't feel as conscious during these memories. It just feels like I'm watching something. And yeah, there are emotions that come up, but I don't feel like I was operating the vessel. My soul picked this vessel at a certain point because it was in a good position for me to accomplish my soul purpose, to live my soul experience. Does this mean if souls don't always come into the body when we're born, does this mean that there are people without souls out there? Now, that is a complicated question. I say everything in existence is consciousness. So, more or less, everything is made up of soul. This table is made up of soul, rocks are made up of soul. Everything is created and made up of consciousness. Although the focus of our experience may be different, and the level of awareness can definitely differ between people. Does this mean that any of us should be treating certain people like they don't have souls? Absolutely not, because we need to remember that at any period in time, all experience is simultaneous, and what you're doing to a vessel, even before a soul has jumped into the body, we might call it, is affecting the soul and experience. And time for souls is not linear. So, say that you choose to begin your experience on Earth, but you don't want to go through the whole part where you have to grow up, go to school. You don't want to go through childhood because you feel like that's not the point of you coming here. Maybe you feel like having that experience just doesn't benefit you as a soul because you've already had plenty of childhoods. Maybe the purpose of your soul is to spread a really powerful message through your career, but say that you aren't able to start your career until you're 21. This is why some souls will choose to jump into pre-programmed vessels. They set up the scene, the coding of the life, letting the vessel go through all it needs to go through, collect all of the memories, and then when the soul feels that the vessel is in a position that it wants to jump into and be experiencing, then the soul will come into Earth and integrate into the vessel.
One more thing that souls can do is called soul swapping. Maybe there's two souls that want to learn two different lessons, but instead of going through an entire human lifetime, they decide to share one. So, for example, one soul wants to experience a normal human childhood, so they decide to come to Earth in a vessel throughout years 1 to 22. So the first 22 years of that vessel's life, they're alive and growing, they're living and experiencing everything through it. But then, say that they got what they wanted, they now know what a human childhood feels like. And now a different soul wants to come in and take over because the experience coming up is going to be different and not a lesson that the first soul wants to learn. So the second soul jumps into the body when the first soul leaves it. And this can sometimes show up as a near death experience, or it can just happen while a person is asleep or even awake. This is soul swapping. So, does this mean that, say, a person you've loved for your entire life is dead when they swap souls? No, because they're still the same person with the same experiences and programming. We can just say that they swapped purposes. They now operate as a different perspective of consciousness because all soul is a focal point of consciousness for experience. The only thing differentiating one portion of consciousness from another is their chosen experience or purpose. We need to remember that all souls are just part of the same great collective consciousness, the same great soul. So all we're experiencing is a different aspect. There is no true separation. Some souls will be here just to experience the human reality, see what human life is like. Some of us are here to change the way other souls operate. Some of us might be here to make art. I think one thing that's really important for the programming of the vessel is the parents. So, what parents do in the early years of a child's life is first off, they're growing the vessel, they're growing the child, and they're programming the child with their own beliefs. So, whatever the vessel is hearing and integrates into its memories is going to be the stuff that forms the core beliefs. Like around money, are they always hearing we're poor or money is hard to make? Or are they hearing money is everywhere and it's abundant? Are they hearing you're healthy or are they hearing you're always sick? This is going to influence the positioning and programming of the vessel, which in turn decides what type of soul is going to choose to experience through this vessel. Now, is there really an important difference between vessels with integrated souls and vessels that are going through the pre-programming? I would say no, not really. My point of this episode is not to categorize people into, oh, you have a soul, so you're superior, or this person doesn't have as much awareness as an important soul, so we don't need to care about them. It's not to really separate. It's to explain why certain people, why you might seem like you went through such a huge change, especially on a spiritual journey when your priorities just become completely different, and maybe it seems like you're an entirely different being, you're talking to a whole different person. It's important to remember when I say swapping souls, what I really mean is just swapping perspective, swapping awareness and purpose, because we're all really just part of the same soul. It's not truly like someone died, although you can sometimes feel like mourning the past being, the past version, and that's totally normal and valid. And now, speaking of soul purposes, one topic I know you've all been waiting for: divine partners. Your divine partner is an energy, a soul, not a specific person or vessel. This means that anyone around you who is aligning with that energy could be its physical conduit at any time if you are ready for it. Your divine partner may even jump from vessel to vessel, although in most cases they won't, because this is really confusing, but you might find you experiencing them walking in to your life in a vessel when you are ready. And how do you recognize your divine partner? Authenticity. No lies, no manipulation, no cover ups or brushing over, no confusion. Authenticity is the key marker of unconditional love, because why do people cover themselves up with illusions? They are operating from a wounded fear state, and they don't think it's safe to be themselves. Liars don't know how to show or receive unconditional love. Liars do not know what unconditional love is because it requires vulnerability, something they're too afraid to risk. The new world is going to be the space for the authentic. In the new world, we have no space for fear. All lies are born from fear. Fear that you're not good enough, fear that your real self is not good enough. That is why people create glamours and masks and illusions. Sometimes you won't be able to receive certain information just because you aren't ready for it. And sometimes you will misinterpret a sign just because you aren't yet capable of understanding it. But the divine will not lie to you. There may be information you cannot tap into, and you may be kept in the dark on certain aspects of your future just because you wouldn't even be able to visualize them in your mind space, but there will be no falsehoods.
And I do want to address because these perspective shifts can occur for anyone at any time, it is important that we as souls do not hold grudges. What does that mean? So, say that you have a preconceived notion of someone. Say that, oh, you think this person is just going to be a horrible person, or that in the past this person has been unreliable. So, you just have this preconceived notion that this person is going to be reliable. Remember that what you have experienced was simply a perspective of a past timeline. This does not necessarily translate to the vessel. Say that you have upgraded. You're maybe manifesting that everyone treats you well, but you just have these memories of a certain person not treating you well. And so internally in your head, you still have this expectation. You're still holding a grudge because of this memory. And because of that, you're not really giving yourself the chance to experience a different perspective. Maybe because you've moved into a different reality and you no longer need the experience of a certain person being limiting. You could actually experience a new soul or a new purpose walking into this person's vessel. But because you are holding this preconceived notion, you just cannot experience what currently aligns with you. And so, what ends up happening is that this person has to leave your reality. People say that when we have spiritual upgrades, we kind of need to cycle out a bunch of people in our life. I don't think that's necessarily true. We don't have to lose all of the people in our life every time we have a spiritual upgrade. What we do need to do is accept and anticipate that they also have the capability to change, and they probably will change to match our frequency. We can't just go expecting that, oh, we've done the work, we've changed, but um just expect that they'll keep staying the same, because I think that's an issue for a lot of us is we'll hold these people to a certain standard or expectation in our memory, and we don't really give them the chance to swap purposes even when we have swapped purposes. And so I think that's one thing to focus on is don't hold grudges. Even though externally the person looks the same as they do in your memory, in your distant memory of a timeline that you are no longer in, they may be a different soul. Just consider that.
So, yeah, let me know if you feel like you or anyone around you has experienced any sort of soul jumping that you've noticed. It's definitely a lot more common than we think. And I'm not saying these things to fearmonger. This is not something to be afraid of. This is a natural phenomenon. This is just how souls operate. And I hope that this sort of information can give clarity to people who are exploring this topic and people who have experienced similar things. I hope this episode can make you feel seen. I'm Zoe Morana. That was Magic Theory 101. If you've listened to the end, I hope that you enjoyed exploring these new perspectives, and thank you so much for listening. See you next time.